All right, again, welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Lewis. I use she and her pronouns, and I am a white woman with very short brown hair and a black sweater with a white and blue turtleneck underneath. I'm the Program Director, Performing Arts and Accessibility Coordinator at Mid-Atlantic Arts. And I'm zooming in today from my home located on lands known as Baltimore, Maryland. I want to acknowledge the legacy of the Piscataway and Susquehannock peoples and the enduring presence of Piscataway, Lumbee, and Eastern Band of Cherokee community members in Baltimore City today. I'm really happy to welcome you to today's webinar on the Special Presenter Initiatives Program. I'm here with my colleague, Sarah Tunay, who is the Program Specialist at Mid-Atlantic Arts. Today, we're going to share what this program is, who is eligible, how to apply, and how adjudication works. I have about 30 minutes of content to go over with you in the slide deck, and then we'll take a look at the Special Presenter Initiatives application through Mid-Atlantic Arts online portal. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar is meant to serve as an overview and a resource. But before applying, make sure to review the Special Presenter Initiatives guidelines at midatlanticarts.org. You can reach out to me with questions about these guidelines anytime. My email is slewis@midatlanticarts.org. It's going in the chat now for folks attending live, and I'll share it a few more times throughout this presentation. For today's webinar, if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We have ASL interpretation today. Daniel is here with us. To pin Daniel on your screen, please select the 3 dots in the top right corner of their video and select pin. Finally, to turn on automated captions, at the bottom of your screen, click CC or Live Transcript button and then click Show Subtitles. Throughout your Special Presenter Initiatives application process, if you're in need of accommodation, please contact me, Sarah Lewis, at 410-539-6656, extension 110, or at slewis@midatlanticarts.org. Now, as we prepare to learn more about the Special Presenter Initiatives program, I want to first share a bit about Mid-Atlantic Arts. Mid-Atlantic Arts supports artists, presenters, and organizations through unique programming, grant support, partnerships, and information sharing. Created in 1979, Mid-Atlantic Arts is aligned with the region's state arts councils, as well as the National Endowment for the Arts. Mid-Atlantic Arts is one of 6 regional arts organizations, or RAOs, and we combine state and federal funding with private support from corporations, foundations, and individuals to nurture diverse artistic expression while connecting people to meaningful artistic experiences within our region. You can learn more about Mid-Atlantic Arts and our work at midatlanticarts.org and about all of the regional arts organizations at the RAO website at usregionalarts.org. Both those links are going in the chat now. Now let's talk about Special Presenter Initiatives, which I will sometimes shorten to the acronym SPI through this presentation. SPI is a presenter-led opportunity for presenters in Delaware, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, West Virginia, and Native nations that share this geography. It is funded through the NEA's Regional Touring Program, which provides funding to the regional arts organizations to support touring across each respective RAO's states and regions. And the program is intended to support artist tours to small and mid-sized presenters in the states and jurisdictions I listed earlier, and to make sure that we're supporting presenters in those regions to bring artistic experiences to their communities. Here are some important dates for SPI. The final application deadline for this year's cycle is Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. And the project period for special presenter initiatives supported engagement is July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. As we get into eligibility, I do want to acknowledge some timeline shifts for this program. The most recent special presenter initiative cycle for the current year was released much later in the calendar year due to the vacancy in my position, as well as the ongoing delays caused by COVID-19. This year, I've been working to pull the program timeline earlier in the calendar year and the booking cycle so that presenters can apply and hear back about funding sooner. I welcome any of your feedback about timeline or the way that the rollout and communication is going for this program at any time. So in this next section, we're going to talk about special presenter initiatives eligibility, how to determine whether a presenter is eligible, whether an artist or company is eligible to be proposed through special presenter initiative support, and whether the proposed activities between an artist and a presenter are eligible. So special presenter initiative is a presenter-driven opportunity, which means that presenters must engage the artist or company they want to present. To be eligible for SPI, presenters need to meet all of these criteria. They need to be based in one of the eligible states or jurisdictions, which includes Delaware, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, West Virginia, or the native nations that share this geography. They need to be designated by the IRS as a 501c3 nonprofit or be a unit of state or local government. They need to demonstrate organizational administrative capacity to complete all the required project components. And they need to be in good standing with Mid-Atlantic Arts at the time of application. In addition, the presenter applying needs to not be a state or jurisdictional arts agency. And that point is most applicable for Puerto Rican presenters who are managed through the Institute of Puerto Rican Culture. Those organizations are not eligible considering the adjudication role that agencies play in the selection process for this program. And we'll talk more about that process soon. So how are we defining presenter? For this program, Mid-Atlantic Arts defines presenter as an organization that financially compensates an artist or company that is a separate entity from the presenter for performances and engagement activities in the presenter's community. Producing organizations that solely create artistic work or assemble artists to perform as ensembles for performances are not eligible through this program. And what about presenting history? Presenters don't need to have a history of engaging professional touring artists as an ongoing part of their work to receive support through special presenter initiatives for a presentation and engagement. Organizations that don't have a history of presenting touring artists will be asked to describe their administrative plan for engaging the artist within their existing staffing structure and among other organizational priorities. In terms of number of applications, each eligible presenting organization can apply for a maximum of 2 special presenter initiatives projects per year. Now let's talk about what artists can be engaged with support from the Arts Connect program. The Special Presenter Initiatives program. Again, this is a presenter-led application, so artists are not eligible to apply directly. But as you think about what artists you'll propose to present through SPI, keep these requirements in mind. The artist can be based anywhere across the US or around the world. This is not a roster-based program. The only artists who are not eligible for Special Presenter Initiative support are those on the 2023-2024 Mid-Atlantic tours or Performing Arts Global Exchange roster. You can find the Mid-Atlantic tours roster in the link in the chat, and the Performing Arts Global Exchange roster will be coming out in early winter of 2023. And even though you can't double dip your support between these programs and SPI, I do really encourage you to check out these rosters and to see if you're interested in presenting any of these artists in your upcoming season as well. The link for the roster is going in the chat now for those here live. So what is required in terms of programming for each proposal? This is what we ask of you in order to be eligible for Special Presenter Initiative support. The proposed engagement needs to have one performance open to the general public at least, and at least one community engagement activity. And there are lots of ways to define community engagement activities, and we'll ask you to do that in your application narrative. Your proposed activities need to meet all of these requirements. They need to take place sometime between July 1, 2023 and June 30th of 2024. They cannot be a fundraising event, but that being said, you can make a profit absolutely on the event. It's just that the sole purpose of the event cannot be for fundraising, like a gala, for example. Performances that primarily serve a non-public audience cannot serve as the public performance requirement, but they can serve as a community engagement activity. So for example, a school performance would be an example of something that would not count for a public performance requirement, but could very well serve as a community engagement activity. Now let's talk about grant amounts and eligible requests. In your SPI application, you can request 50% of the negotiated artist fee up to $2,000 or up to $5,000 if you're based in Puerto Rico or the US Virgin Islands. And your request needs to be no less than $750. The fee that you negotiate and include in your application does need to match what you list in your budget in terms of what you're applying for. You can also apply for up to $2,000 of presenter capacity support. This is other eligible expenses that are applying directly to the funded project. All grants awarded from Mid-Atlantic Arts need to be matched on a one-to-one basis with non-federal funds, meaning that if you were awarded $3,000 from Mid-Atlantic Arts, you would need to match that funding with another $3,000 for a total project budget of $6,000. That match could come from ticket sales, individual donations, other foundation fundraising, or other non-federal funding sources. We'll talk about the budget more when we look at the application, which we're going to do in just a moment. So I'm going to take a moment to get out of this screen share and go into the application screen share. Just a moment. So here we are on Mid-Atlantic Arts Smart Simple website. I am logging in now with my test account so that you can see what it looks like from inside. It wants me to tell it that I'm not a robot. Here we go. All right, so that is the page that you will see when you first visit midatlanticarts.smartsimple.com. Mid-Atlantic Arts has recently switched our online grants platform from eGrants to Smart Simple. If you applied in the most recent SPI cycle, your application process will be very similar, and you do not need to make a new account in Smart Simple. you will just need to start a new application. But if you've applied for any of our programs in cycles before last year, keep in mind that your application process is going to be different than it has been. If your organization has never applied to a Mid-Atlantic Arts grant through Smart Simple, you'll need to make a new account. To apply for Special Presenter Initiatives, first visit midatlanticarts.smartsimple.com. The link is going in the chat now. And from there, you'll be on that purple page that we were just visiting. Once you've logged in, you'll find yourself on this landing page. When you are in the portal, to start your application, click Funding Opportunities under Available Applications. You'll see we have 2 funding opportunities open right now. And when you're ready, you'll select Special Presenter Initiatives with this purple button to start a new application. I've already begun my application, so I'm going to go back to the main portal landing page and go to My Applications and click In Progress. I have 2 applications in progress right now. For today, we're going to take a look at Special Presenter Initiatives. And now we are inside of the application. This is what it will look like when you apply. This first page, Organization, auto-populates with organizational info that you'll input when you create your Smart Simple account. If you need to edit anything on this page once you've created your account, you can do so by hitting the Update Organization Profile button. Under the Project tab, you'll submit more information about the project that you're proposing, including information about the artist, the project start and end date, and a bit more data about the project itself. Keep in mind that on this page, you need to also submit a letter of agreement that is executed between you and the proposed artist that you're working with. This does not need to be the fully executed contract, but it does need to match the amount that you put in your budget, which we'll look at in a moment. Now let's move on to the work samples page. These work samples should be submitted as URL links. The links can be from any site that provides a URL to view video. They can be password protected, but if they are, just make sure to include that password in this section down here. Video of the proposed work to be presented is encouraged, but if no video of the proposed work exists, you can provide an alternate work sample that best displays the type of artistry that the company would bring to your community. The work samples can be from any time, acknowledging that a recent work sample may still be hard to come by because of pandemic circumstances. Reviewers will watch 2 minutes of each work sample, so please indicate a 2-minute timestamp or start time for panelists to review if your sample is more than 2 minutes. The narrative questions are next. These questions are also available to view on midatlanticarts.org, and I recommend that you view them or either through that Word document that you can find online or by pulling them straight out of this application and drafting them in a separate document just to be safe, so that if you are working in the browser and your internet crashes, that you don't lose your work. If you have applied to SPI in the past, you'll see that there have been some updates to the narrative structure for SPI. Rather than 2 long paragraphs, we've broken down the questions into shorter bites. The first question addresses the eligibility requirements that the presenter demonstrates organizational capacity to support the project. If you have 3 or more years of presenting history, you will not be asked to answer an additional question. But if you don't have 3 or more years of presenting history, you'll be asked for a short narrative that tells us more about your organizational staffing plan to support this presentation, including your administrative, technical, and front of house responsibilities. The rest of the narrative questions each tie to one of the assessment criteria, which we'll talk more about shortly when we discuss application review. I encourage you to read through each criteria point as you work through these questions to inform how to structure your answers. First, we ask about the organization's mission statement. And then we ask how the project advances that mission. This will help us determine the mission impact of your project. Next, we ask you why you want to work with this particular artist or company. And this will help reviewers assess the project's artistry along with the work sample. The last narrative question asks about access for the proposed project. And it's how reviewers will assess how accessible your project will be. Please think broadly about access when answering this question. We want to know how you will create access for communities who have been systemically underserved by to have had systemic underserved access to the arts, and barriers to participation that may create that may include, but are certainly not limited to, age, class, disability status, gender, geographic location, race, sexual orientation, or other factors. The Project Activities tab next is where you'll give us an overview of all the programmatic components of your proposal. Per the guidelines, make sure that you include at least one public performance and at least one community engagement opportunity here. To add a project activity, click this Enter Project Activities purple button. You'll see a pop-up window, and in that window, you'll enter the name, location, dates, projected attendance, ticket pricing, and whether or not this activity is confirmed. When you're ready, you can hit save, or if you need to delete an activity, you can do so by hitting the X button and hitting save. Once you hit save, your changes will show up in the main application page here. Next, we have the budget section. Here, you'll let us know what your budget is for this project. You might use a different template or budgeting method internally for your project, but we ask that you please adapt that budget to fit the categories that we've outlined here. You can apply for up to 50% of the proposed artist fee, up to $2,000, or up to $5,000 for Puerto Rico or US Virgin Islands presenters. And a reminder that you should apply for no less than $750. You can also apply for other eligible expenses as listed below, up to $2,000. This form will auto-populate with what you're able to apply for based on what you enter into this form. So let's say that I'm applying with an artist fee of $3,000 that has all these other eligible expenses. If we scroll down to income, you'll put what you think you'll make at the box office, any other earned or contributed income, and donations. Then under grant requests, the form will auto-populate whatever you are able to apply for based on what you enter in the expenses of this form. So again, with that $3,000 artist fee, it shows that I can apply for up to $1,500 in artist fee support. And then since my total other eligible expenses were more than $2,000, it shows that I can apply for $2,000 there. So if I were to apply and was successfully awarded a Special Presenter Initiatives grant in this way, I would receive a total grant from Mid-Atlantic Arts of $3,500. Keep in mind that these auto-populated numbers won't show up until you hit Save Draft after you've put in your expenses to your budget template. And also, please remember, as you fill out your budget, that all funds from Mid-Atlantic Arts must be matched on a one-to-one basis, and that match cannot come from federal government sources. Moving on from budget, we go to artist consent. This is where you let us know if you've had the opportunity to discuss the details of this application with the artist or company that you plan to present. We strongly encourage you to be in dialogue with the artist or company ahead of submitting the application. You can use this text box to give us some context on what your conversations have been thus far. The next tab for our records will auto-populate with information that you fill out when you complete your profile on Smart Simple. Check it out to make sure everything looks okay. And if you need to update anything, click on Update Organization Profile or Update Contact Profile. On this page, you'll also need to select the project discipline. This discipline list comes from the National Standard for the Arts Information Exchange, which is used by the NEA. Finally, the certification page is where you confirm that you comply with all federal statutes and regulations as listed here. There are links to each one right here in the application, and if you'd like to learn more, you can click through them. If you have any questions about these, don't hesitate to reach out. At the bottom of this page, you'll enter your information, and then when you're ready, you'll hit submit at the bottom of the page here. If there was anything in your application that was required but that is missing, you'll receive a prompt when you hit submit to go back and fill that out so that you have everything that you need to before submitting. But if you have any questions about that, if you get that prompt and you're not sure what you're missing, you can reach out to me and we'll work through it together. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the slide deck for us to talk about the adjudication process. All right, after you submit your application, staff at Mid-Atlantic Arts will review your application for eligibility issues. You'll be contacted if we have any questions about your application. Next, Mid-Atlantic Arts meets with the applicant's state or jurisdictional arts agency to review applications and make funding recommendations. Then Mid-Atlantic Arts Board of Directors will give the final approval on funding recommendations, and the applicants will be notified of their selection status via email at the end of May 2023. The review criteria for SPI are listed here, and they are include grant impact or mission impact, artistry, community benefit, and access. The guidelines have more information on each of these criteria points. And as we talked about in the application, each narrative question is related to one of these criteria points. All criteria do have equal weight and will be reviewed through the lens of Mid-Atlantic Arts' mission, vision, and guiding principles, which are all available at midatlanticarts.org. For those viewing live, we'll put a link directly to the page listing the mission, vision, and guiding principles in the chat. I encourage you to review them and consider how your application, including your narrative and your listed project activities, address all of these criteria. Regarding award notification, applicants will be notified of the status of their proposals by the end of May 2023. Then, if awarded, 90% of the award will be made at the start of the grant period, as long as Mid-Atlantic Arts has received the completed grant award agreement and the submitted countersigned contract with the artist. Here we have our important dates and deadlines again. The final application deadline is March 14th, 2023, and the Special Presenter Initiative Supported Engagement Project period is July 1st, 2023 through June 30th of 2024. And a few other dates and opportunities I want to highlight. Later this week and early next week, Mid-Atlantic Arts is hosting the Mid-Atlantic Performing Arts Presenter Exchange. I encourage you to check out the activities we've put together here. There's a link going in the chat now for those watching live. And last, I want to highlight a supplemental grant opportunity for presenters who are awarded SPI grants to present an artist or company who identify as Indigenous. Western Arts Alliance's Advancing Indigenous Performances program provides additional support to successful SPI grantees when they present an artist who self-identifies as Indigenous. Ed Bourgeois with Western Arts Alliance will be at this Thursday's exchange event to speak more about the program. And you can reach out to me if you have questions, and I can connect you directly with Ed. So this is the last informational slide I have for you about Special Presenter Initiatives. You can review the guidelines and find the Smart Simple application portal link at midatlanticarts.org. under the SPI program tab. As you go through this process, please don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions about the program, your eligibility, or the application process. Now I'm going to stop screen sharing and we'll move into any questions you have. As a reminder, you can put those questions in the Q&A right here, and we will answer them. And I will just hang out here and see if any questions come in. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, but I want to let you know that you can always reach out to me via email at slewis@midatlanticarts.org. If any time during your application process for SPI you have any questions. I want to thank you all for listening, whether you are watching live or watching the recording. And thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to your application. Oh, we do have one question, so I will pause. Oh, it is just to say no questions. Thank you very much for being here, Richard, and looking forward to your application. Thank you all so much. Thank you also for your patience with me as I navigate a bit of a head cold, which you probably noticed. I appreciate you all, and take care. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you. Goodbye.